Alright guys, I am back. Um, Sorry for the wait, sorry for the delay. Just kinda had to get myself back into the swing of things. Uh, what I want to do in this video is just break down the last 2 days or 3 days um, on the euro, and then kind of move to what I'm seeing uh, price do as we uh, move forward. All right, so to start the week out, right? Actually, let's push price back to here. Take a chart. All right. So, from a daily perspective, right? Here's that daily breaker here. And here's where that breaker starts, right? So we see price close through it, push back inside, and then we're getting this, right? But the key to this entire thing is seeing that price, right? Well, actually, let's go to the weekly. I'm gonna show you this first, right? So if we take this entire data set, right? As you guys know, this is what I always do. And right now what I'm talking about is us kind of getting a bias in terms of direction, right? So from a weekly perspective, right, here we're seeing each week, previous week's low is taken, right? Every now and then there's a correction, but that correction is only to meet some higher time frame PD array, like in this case, right? Price pushed back to the breaker, and in doing so it swept buy side liquidity, right? And we know that, of course, if price wants to continue to carry lower, then we have to sweep buy side liquidity and then we reprice lower to sell side, right? So now price moves back in a series of previous week's low swept, previous week's low swept. Here's a correction week, and then we just barely sweep this high right here, and then tap into this small imbalance, and then we're back into a series of previous week's low swept inside range, previous week's low swept, and then of course we push up, right? At every now and then price will correct itself, and that is only to reach for some premium, in this case premium array, right? So within this range, price is reaching to fill in this particular imbalance here, right? And then once we see that done, then we see that institutional swing high created, right? Here's the 1, here's the 2, here's the 3, right? And then we see price continue lower. All right. So back into the series of previous week's low swept, previous week's low swept, previous week's low swept, and then we get here, right? All price does is correct, right? That correction will push to a premium array, which in this case, here's our imbalance. Here's the imbalance, and then all price is doing is sweeping buy side liquidity and then tapping into this imbalance, right? And then we get this week here, sweeps previous week's low, right? And then we push to a daily chart, right? So what I wanted you guys to see in that from that last data set was just, ideally we should be coming into these weeks expecting, marking out our previous week's low and expecting price to reach for that previous week's low. Once we know that the previous week's low is the ultimate target, or that is the ultimate drawn liquidity, then relative to where price starts out, then we say, is there a possible case of, price accumulating, manipulating, and then finally distributing those orders at previous week's low, right? And in saying that, we kind of map the week out from a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday perspective, right? About 75% of the time you'll see either, Monday will kind of build liquidity, and then Tuesday or Wednesday will set either the high or low of the week. All right. So in this case, right, here's that correction. Previous day's highs taken, right? Taken, and then we get this daily breaker, and now we're in a series of previous day's low, 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 right? So what you can expect, or what we should be expecting, is for a previous day's low to be taken again, right? So here's that previous day's low. All right, keep in mind, just to reiterate, this is how, when we start doing our analysis, this is kind of one of the first things we should do, right? We should not come into a trading day or a trading week without already having a preset in mind of where the ultimate draw on liquidity will be, right? So guys, remember that each day, right, either previous day's high or previous day's low will be swept, right? We just have to be assassins in terms of mapping out how that particular day will look, right? So here's Friday's low, and we push to Monday. Right, and you guys can see once price met. So here, this was that imbalance, right? Once price met that imbalance, then we see price push away and sweep this here. One thing I do want to talk about is this, right? Because we're seeing price create a low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, and then we get this higher high, right? So one might say, isn't that a market structural shift, right? Isn't price now slated to go higher, right? But what we have to understand is we're trading against a daily breaker. So once price reaches that higher force, right? Once price reaches that higher force, remember this black line was where that daily breaker and imbalance was. So once price reaches a higher force, that higher force is going to cause price to go back into its original order flow, right? And so all of this area here was just a sweep of liquidity. So guys that trade solely based on structure would have been tricked out of this particular delivery. And then what we also must understand that once price, right? So I want you guys to pay attention to this, right? So all price was doing was creating engineering buy side liquidity, right, within the discounted portion of this overall range, right? And we understand that price will use this as inducement, right? So this how was induced only for price to reach the premium portion of this range, right? And then once that happens, once this buy side liquidity is taken, right? Once that happens, we sort of get a failed price swing here. Here's the neckline of that failed price swing. You can see price coming back and testing that neckline here. But anyways, so like I always preach, counter trend liquidity sweeps will eventually become pro trend targets once that premium or discounted array is met. And in this case, this was a premium array, right? So, or that premium objective, rather. Just kind of wanted to point that out. But anyways, moving back to this, right? So we're targeting. Remember, guys, we're targeting previous day's low, right? So we pushed to this week. Monday here in the U.S. Was the 4th of July, which is I guess our Independence Day, and not a ton of price action on this day. But if we kind of follow the narrative, here's that price is creating that lower low. Order flow, higher time frame order flow is bearish. This area here actually swept liquidity. So what we should be expecting is for this high, right? This high right here to be protected. Right. So this high is protected, right? And it's protected because we have a sweep and then we have a market structural shift, right? So what price does is we build up liquidity in that Asia range. Here's our London high. Right. Everything in this portion of price has been balanced, right? The only imbalance lies here and possibly on a lower time frame somewhere, maybe possibly in that wick. But everything up here is balanced, right? We've created that lower low, and now price is pushing up, right? This high is protected. We move into you know, Monday, and Monday sweeps the Asia high. So here is where we can say here, but on the lower time frame, it's actually this area right here. Here's where the market structural shift happens on the lower time frame here. But we sweep Asia high, right? And then we also, once we get to New York Open, we also sweep this London high, right? So let's see what happens, right, in a bearish market, right? Remember, we're in a bearish market, and then let's see what happens after we sweep a significant liquidity pool, which happens to be the London high, which is here, right? So once that happens, price breaks down, right? And then we see this nice institutional swing point created. High, higher high, lower high, breakdown, right? And we even break structure here as well, right? So this trade that took place London session, which was this amount here, I want to say it was 10-minute. Should be around 472. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So remember, in these scenarios, I look to be taking my trade right where this imbalance starts, and then of course my stop will go above this high, right? We see how that's a high, a low, a high, and market structural shift, right? So this area right here on the lower time frame, this candle here on the lower time frame would technically be a breaker right here, right? But ultimately, here's the imbalance, right? So in this case, first targets would be at these kind of relatively equal lows, but overall we should have been targeting this low right here. I caught this portion of this move, but what I did not catch is the full move because I used magic keys and I didn't stretch my second TP out to here, so both TPs were taken at this point here. Alright, so then we watch price push up. So notice how Asia, it's so important for us to mark out Asia. Asia kind of builds the liquidity, and then London Open sweeps Asia, and then we see price break down and push away, right? And after this reaction, possibly second entries could be taken after this imbalance is created, right? Because we're tapping into an imbalance. We have, here this would be a market structural shift on the lower time frame, and then price sweeps this buy side liquidity from this high here. See this high, right? Buy side liquidity is swept. We tap into an imbalance, and then price pushes away. So this was honestly a massive move in price. And all right, so now at this point, price has just taken the 2017 low that I have been speaking about for a while. All right, we finally snatched it. And so once price does that, we understand that once a large or decent sized liquidity pool is taken, price could possibly have the opportunity to reverse and go into the opposite direction. And so that's why I was kind of vouching for possible longs, but those are just assumptions. And so outside of any assumptions, what we have to do is follow, what the true order flow is, right? So in this case, here is, here's a breaker, right here, right? We have a slight institutional swing point, 1, 2, and then that's 3, and then price breaks down, right? So what we can do in this case is, we can stretch our fib on this and kind of look for an OTE setup. which OT being within this area. Now I missed this trade because I was expecting price to at least reach 0.3100, I believe, and I wanted price to reach for this imbalance in here. And we never got that. Price just fell just shy of that, and then we slipped away again. So no other opportunities in terms of entries, in terms of the model that I teach. Someone else may be able to find entries within all of this, but to me it will be a forced entry, and then that's what we get for Tuesday. Now moving into, actually I'm gonna shut this video down here and then I'll create a second video.